Hello everyone, and welcome back to Fleet's Random Ramblings. Well, it's still random because the questions are still random, but as I have highlighted a few days in the past and over the last few weeks, Ramblings is going to be changing. This is for a few reasons. One, we've been getting a lot of... hello, that's me. That's me in the background. Whoops. But yeah, we've been getting a lot of derivative questions or very similar questions, one after the other. Which I'm all for answering questions, but it does get a little bit derivative when you answer X question, but slightly different values inputted. So we will be cherry picking questions from both YouTube and Discord going forwards. All of them will be inducted into the stream Q&A log. Make no mistake, but whether they are answered, all the YouTube questions will, because it means the bot runs properly and it doesn't get all gunked up. But the the Discord questions will only be inducted into the
Q&A log.
That's the one. Yeah, if they have been answered, because it makes it nice and easy to keep track of. It also means I can avoid answering or clogging up the chat with questions that I haven't been able to answer because there's no one here who's competently able to answer them. And ideally, all told, it should mean that we don't have any more need for catch-up ramblings. Ideally. The plan is for us to get through to the end of ramblings with no questions left unanswered. The Honor Officer, I'm not Drac or Dr. Clark. I don't get paid for this. This does not pay my bills. So I have to make sure it's enjoyable for me to do. If you want to make sure you get a guarantee...
To answer the question that didn't fit the vibes. There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm just going to get the Patreon questions now, which is just one from Timu. There we go. And Control C. I mean, I've got a shout out to the Patreons, by the way. Got to give a real shout out to the Fleet's fantastic funders. Even if only Timu is now using his questions, I do really got to give a shout out to the actual Fleet's fantastic funders quickly. Brackman, Brandon Larson, Timu Locker, you guys are just brilliant. And C Dollars and Paul giving me $3 a month, absolute legends. You guys help keep. You guys actually do more than you realize. That $29 you all end up giving me, which is about £20, that has helped me keep the lights on more times than I can count and keep myself going, put fuel in my car. It's all really helped, and I cannot thank you guys enough. So those 5, just absolutely thank you very much. Just cannot thank you guys enough. So please use the benefits you have. Brackman, Brandon, don't forget to use your benefits. Like, you've paid for them, you absolutely deserve to use them. Don't just leave it to Timu. Now. Oh yeah, I got this copy. Here we go. There we go. Okay, so, from Timu Locker on Patreon. What's been the most hilarious moment in Ramblings so far? Well, we've had a lot of funny moments in Ramblings, but the funniest one that we've ever had has to be, ironically enough, the first time Drac was ever on. Because Drac told the story about how him and Mrs. Drac were driving around in a van, and he had to basically pull off Besiege Drac. And it's what led to the Besiege Drac meme. which a lot of people don't know. That meme didn't spring from nowhere. No, that sprung from an actual story Drac told about him drifting a van down a country lane in Devon. Past a bus. There was a lot of uproar.
You can also not forget the meme of Fleet Helmet studying foreign population.
You know, that would have landed better if you hadn't broken up every 5 seconds, Runan. Unfortunately.
Skill issue.
That's not a...
Yeah. What does Ronan and the Qing Dynasty have in common? They kept breaking up.
Well, no, that's China generally. The Qing actually
I
were
mean,
the most stable part of Chinese.
in
The
my
woo would like
in
a
my
word with you.
in my
Would you
defense,
get to the point,
I've been up for
woman?
24 Well, I would if you people would stop interrupting me. Been up
No.
for 20.
So sit down. Down.
I've been up for 26 hours at this point.
Why?
Then go to fucking bed.
I can't. I'm on the middle of the interstate.
You can. That's just
no.
a skill issue.
You can't drive
Alright.
cars while sleepsing. It doesn't... It do not work that way.
Skill issue, skill issue,
I will
skill
push back on
issue.
that. I have. Runan, I will offer you a piece of advice. The rest areas ostensibly have a 2-hour limit for parking. I have never seen that actually enforced. You can just pull into a rest area and sleep in your car. I
Yeah.
have done it.
Okay.
It was not comfortable, but I have done it.
I would also
Okay,
point out...
so I am about 20 minutes out from the place where I get the meds that put my ADHD in a box so I can actually maintain something that resembles a human sleep schedule. I'm then going to go there. I'm also going to get a slice of motherfucking pizza and a cookie. And then I'm going to go to the hobby store and get some other shit. And then I'm going home. And either I'm going to talk with you people or I'm going to pass the fuck out.
I see.
Whichever one happens first is what we'll go with.
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk Ramblings history, there's very few people better than Guy and Torrets to actually discuss it with me, since they've been here since basically the start of the whole thing. Nearly
Yes, but I make
Been
for
here since before things were even recorded.
I know.
But I make
Yeah.
I make for an excellent peanut gallery, and more often than not, I've been your resident American.
Yes, you have been, but when it comes to old Ramblings lore, those two basically know things that not even Foxo and Dragon know. I mean, for God's sake, they're part of the original club series that used to be
Wait,
around.
the horse is here.
Before
That's
it
not
was
it,
the
that's
clubs.
that's not old lore, Foxo. That ain't old lore. That's recent lore. Like, we're talking...
That's recent in 2.5 years old at this
I
point.
have
Yeah.
mentioned this before, but Guy, were you there for the birth of Trans Franco?
Oh no!
Am I
That wasn't
extremely
that
offended
wasn't
and
a,
start
oh, that wasn't
and add fleets to the book of grudges?
oh,
Alright.
it was
So-
very
It's
So we-
Trans
so-
Franco.
so-
do you
that
want me
wasn't-
to tell this story, Fleet?
that
do you want me to
wasn't
tell this
the
story?
problem is it doesn't come under the question. It wasn't Ramblings.
No, this was before Ramblings.
No, but yes, it has to be in Ramblings. Like, what? I mean, I'm sure you guys have anecdotes from before we recorded the damn thing. Must be something. I mean, I know Drac and Hood stayed around for like 2 hours while I took a nap when I was doing the 2-year anniversary of Ramblings.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And those two were nattering on about... I am not sure what.
Honestly, I think that was when I was still working at my old company, and I joined on my lunch break, so I was only there for 30 minutes.
Yeah. And then, of course, we had the big 50 for Ramblings, which was the big recorded 50, and then the 100, which passed with kind of anti-climax, given it was literally the Ramblings right before Japan, and I literally managed to ninja Drac in at the last second, because it snuck up on me. But, yeah. So, as per usual, we will be going through, the questions, picking out what I want to answer. So I'm Gunnery Officer, I am going to say that I'm going to skip the one on the F-35. I don't know the exact reason why the US doesn't have... It's a modern jet question. I'm sorry. Not today, my friend. Not today. So we'll start with your second question, which honestly I do kind of like. Typical Gunnery Officer on Discord asks, in terms of Cold War NATO bullpup rifles, which one was the best? The FAMAS or the SA-80? The FAMAS by a country mile.
The Steyr AUG.
Well, yeah, but it's not a NATO rifle. That's an Austrian rifle, not a NATO one. Sadly, it doesn't come under the thing.
It was used by NATO countries, including the Federal Republic of West Germany. So yes, it's a NATO rifle.
What exactly was the question again?
In terms of Cold War NATO bullpup rifles, which one is the best, the FAMAS or the SA-80? Fox was right, the Steyr AUG beats the two of them to the punch, but out of the two of them, it's the FAMAS. The SA-80 doesn't get fixed until the Soviet Union is a dead entity.
How are we defining rifle?
They are surface rifles, both of them.
How are we defining rifle?
They're both surface rifles.
Okay.
I don't know what to...
Foxo, because
Yes?
you speak this language, I'm going to ask you. How would you define rifle in this case?
Infantry service rifle that is standard issue to the majority of basic level foot soldiers. Anything up to a 12mm cartridge with an up to 25
So
inch barrel.
are we talking intermediate chamberings, full power chamberings, low power chamberings?
It would just... What? We're just talking about specific rifles. I don't need to with that little...
Because depending upon where you move the sliding scale between SMG and rifle, I would posit the P90.
No, that's not a rifle.
Yeah,
That's not a rifle.
by some definitions it is. That's why definition is important
shoots-
here.
Yes, it shoots a supersonic, lightweight round that relies more on speed than mass.
It's a PDW. It's not even
Much
an
like
SMG.
223.
It's a PDW. It's not an SMG. And it's therefore not a rifle.
I mean, by implementation, that would mean the MP5 is often a PDW too.
Yes, that's entirely correct.
Like it was designed as a whole lot of firepower for rear echelons to protect against the paratrooper drop. But it's also been used in other applications of a more aggressive nature.
Yes, that's entirely
So
correct.
if we are defining rifle as a weapon explicitly designed to be used by frontline troops, then I will withdraw it and go with the FAMAS, I guess, because the AUG is off the table.
If the AUG's off the table,
What?
I'd go with the SA-80.
What?
Because the SA-80A1 is it's got mechanical reliability issues, but it's one of the best rifles of its time. It's lighter, it's shorter, and talking to people who have actually used it, when you get around and you treat it like how it's supposed to be treated, it's a very good rifle.
I will
The
point... Eh,
FAMAS was better when it came out. It just suffers from being French.
Question.
And being mechanical nightmare.
Once you've done talking.
Go on.
Sorry. Provided you're done in the most
Yep.
sincere way possible. When does the FS2000 hit the deck?
I mean, we're a little bit outside of the question now, folks. We're talking about rifles that are a little bit outside of the Cold War here. And I would
That's why I'm asking, when does the FS2000 enter production?
I mean, we
Because I
have.
don't know. I just know it
I mean,
exists.
we have
2001.
we have covered
It's
Okay.
the two rifles under discussion here, and I wouldn't like to dwell too much on this, if it's at all possible.
That's fine. I just thought of another one. That was definitely NATO, so I figured it is.
I think
Yeah, the answer's the Strata-Rog, no matter what. It's the Strata-Rog.
I mean, I will give C Dodders his bit since he has served with the rifle, so I'll give him his bit for a little bit, just quickly before.
Hello.
Very
Can
quickly.
everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Very quickly,
Right.
please.
I say most of the points have been covered. I would like to point out the FAMAS cannot use NATO ammo.
Yep.
It's the same caliber, same size as rest of NATO's 5.56, except it's designed to use its French steel case. If you put brass through it, nasty things happen. Which kind of rules out the point of being a NATO caliber rifle, but hey ho. And most of the issues with the L85A1 were, well, most of the design issues were fixed relatively quickly. Like the guard for the magazine catch was actual is an armor in Northern Ireland that made it himself, and that became the standard fix. That got pushed out throughout the entire load of them. And the reliability issues with this dust and sand, that was mainly crusty old farts deciding they knew better than the manual about how to oil the things in sandy conditions and icy conditions. It would point out that when it came to the A2 upgrade, the only things the Germans really had to do was change the design of the cocking handle, enlarge the ejection port, and remanufacture all the parts to the actual correct specification and harness, which is a build quality control issue, which obviously you can't really fix in penny packets. So I would say that even with the problems that L85 had, it's still better than the FAMAS. You got a 20.4 inch barrel in a rifle that is extremely so accurate that the army had to redesign its marksmanship test because everyone was passing for the flying colours. You got a bi-4 magnification scope as a standard, which at the time no one had. Okay, the Steyr had a scope, but that was only like by 2, if that. So I would say even with the problems it had, it's still the best bullpup rifle out there at the time. That's me done.
Right. Thank you, C Dodders. Your input is always invaluable. Hello, James.
Now back to the gulag.
Actually, you know what? He can stay. He can stay. C Dodders can stay. He can stay. It's fine. He can stay. Occasional member of the panel, C Dodders. He can stay.
Gulag.
Besides, anyway, 9681 asks, if the 108 OHPs were built by 2004-2005, how do you see it likely that the SAM battery mods made on the Adelaide class would have been built into the later OHP designs? They wouldn't have been built into them, given that it's important to bear in mind that the FFG upgrade for the Adelaide, the Australian OHPs, doesn't kick off until 2008. What you would see is you would see them built to carry and fire SM2 rather than SM1. No US OHP could fire SM2. But if they're continuing to build the OHP class into the 2000s, then you will see the later OHPs carrying single arm launchers that can launch SM2. That is what you will see. In regards to anything else, I mean, honestly, just for the US, the Perrys having SM2 is, quite frankly, if they're being retained a little longer, it's enough. That gives them enough reach out and touch range, given, especially if you upgrade their tracking to be able to loft probably I think the Perrys could loft 2 SM1. If you make it so they can loft 3 to 4 SM2, which you could realistically enable them to do with the better tech that would be available in the 2000s. That, and especially with SM2 MR's increased range over SM1 MR, that does restore the Perry's reach out and touch you range against basic missile attack, which is all they've ever needed to survive. Next questions. Let's pick my next Discord question then. A very quick one from Typical Gunner Officer, because it's a very easy and quick answer. Do you think the Forrestal class in the 21st century would be completely outdated, even with sensor, electronics, near some upgrades, weaponry, and aircraft equipment refitted? Yes, they do not have the power generation to survive, nor do they have the ability to carry the basic missile self-defense kit needed to survive. The Forrestals are the smallest of the super carriers, and it shows. They were very good when they came in, they very clearly showed the way, but if you look at how quickly the US carriers balloon in size after the Forrestals, it's a clear indication of the way things were going. And
Yeah, but
there's a reason why the Forrestals bowed out when they did. And the problem with them in the 21st century is not their size. Their size isn't the problem. It's the fact that they're just not, as hulls, set up the way they need to be set up to function as a modern carrier. If you look at something like a QE or a Charles de Gaulle, or heck, even some of the Chinese carriers, they're a lot more space efficient than a Forrestal is. Significantly more. Because they have to be. They have to cram a lot more on to be an effective fighting force in the modern era. That's sensors, weaponry, aircraft storage, power generation, better power plants. The Forrestals just can't do that.
I will also point out one caveat, though. I think it very much does depend on who's operating them. Because you put them at that size in French or British service, even if it's not particularly capable, the sheer size of the fuckers
No,
means they've got some capability, even if it's not as a frontline carrier role. They have capability that those navies need. But if you give them to the Americans again, the Nimitz does the job better.
I'm gonna push back on that. If you give a
They don't
Forrestal,
have the power.
you'd be paying frontline carrier costs for a third line asset.
Yeah, but even if you end up stripping out most of their capabilities, and you use them mainly to operate helicopters,
go down to the power plant.
Yeah, it's not that. It's a flight deck and a hull outside the US Navy. For navies that aren't the US Navy, it's a flight deck and a hull for navies that really fucking need a flight deck and a hull. Even if they're not the best, they're better than nothing.
In this case, I would argue no. Honestly,
I'd argue
I'm also
yes.
going to argue no, because what do the running costs on these refitted Forrestals look like versus something like a QE?
We don't know.
but this is my point isn't that a Forrestal wouldn't be a basically effective ship. It's that to even get them to a basic level of effectiveness, you're going to have to gut the amount of aircraft they can carry, completely rip out the power plant, rebuild it. They can't even carry...
Yeah, you're looking at maybe Charles de Gaulle levels of air group for probably around at least as much as Charles de Gaulle, if not more.
Yeah, but for example, take the Charles de Gaulle as an example. The very big issue France has is that they've got one of the fuckers.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also too short to
But it would
effectively
be,
operate
just
And-
as expensive to build a second one.
Yeah, but you don't have to spend 8 years building the fucker.
You would have to spend 8 years to do the sort of work to get a Forrestal to the level it would need to be, given the cost involved.
Not to just be a basic aircraft. Carry basic aircraft.
No, you absolutely
No,
would.
but because even if it doesn't have the entire sensor suite, having a cap, even a less capable cap, is better than having no cap.
Her catapults can't launch at things like Rafale. The Forestals struggled to launch Tomcat, for God's sake. And aircraft have gotten heavier since then.
Yeah, the only
Well,
only
because
way
no,
a
the Raphael's
Forrestal works
lighter than Tomcat.
is if you replace the power plant.
No. The Raphaels are lighter than the Tomcats.
Is the Hornet lighter than a Tomcat?
Okay, Forrestal could launch early Hornet, but not Super Hornet.
Yes, but even Hornet, base level Hornet as a cap is better than nothing.
These carriers are a bad idea. A Forrestal size carrier in the modern day? Yeah, fantastic, brilliant. You know what? That puts you in the rank 1 of navies. If you have a Forrestal size Cadabar asset, even if it's conventionally powered. But the Forestals themselves in the modern era? No, junk, waste of time. Get it out of my sight.
No, they're better than nothing.
No, they are
All right,
not. They
I'm
are
going to ask a
objectively
different
worse.
question here. I'm going to ask a different question, which is, I think will tie into this. If you throw money at the problem, how quickly can you build a E? QE?
About 6 years.
Can you?
Because that's the shortest estimate I've seen for a third QE.
Is that with throwing money at the problem, though?
Yeah, that's
how
where the
much-
issue is. Also,
because-
don't forget that the QEC is also, there is a design flaw very similar to that of a Forrestal. Because even though she is technically designed to be Cato bar capable, she also has the inherent design flaw of length to beam ratio, not making her a fast carrier, which then would require you to increase the speed, which means more power, just to get her to a speed where you can actually launch a decent sized aircraft with a cat.
Yeah, the thing with the oh, come on, Fleet, engage brain. The thing with the problem I have with these ships is it's the amount of Foxo. I don't think it would cost more than building a new ship to bring these up to basic, and I mean basic levels of functionality. Because it's a carrier. You don't settle you're not, if you are going to this effort, you're not getting a third line combatant. You're gonna want top tier sensors fit, and to do that, you're gonna have to spend as much as it would take to build a keel up ship of the same size, if not more, to do so.
And
that-
you're also going to be hit with massive running costs.
Yeah, but
Because
you still
these things are old. The hulls are old. They are not going to be cheap to patch up the hulls, get them certified, get them seaworthy, get the power
Yes.
plant functional.
No,
Let alone,
you're gonna have
I
to
don't
replace
think
it.
they're going to have any.
But counterpoint, a flight deck today is better than a flight deck in 80 years. A capability today is better than a capability in 8 years.
This is a
For
fundamental.
For nations that have run since 2022, so anyone who's not America, have run into this massive issue of we can't fight wars when we want to fight wars. Oh shit, we might actually be on the receiving end of wars.
Can I?
Therefore, we need capability now.
I'm
The
sorry.
Forrestal would exist now,
You're
not in
thinking like
2030.
you are thinking like
Forrestal will exist now.
You're thinking like a politician, and it's fundamentally flawed. What you're gonna do is you're gonna gut your navy of any funding for anything else to get a shit asset when in 4 years, when if you wait say 6 to 8, you might get a purpose-built asset at less cost, which will be better, and not gut your military at the same time. Go on.
Let's just ask a couple of questions regarding the power plant. Firstly, what fuel does it use?
It's a steam-powered fuel oil.
Yeah, but
ship.
what fuel does the boilers burn?
I have no idea. Couldn't tell you.
It would
the
be
Forestals were. I think the Forestals were converted to JP5. I know the Iowas were. For
Do you have tankers
I know
that can carry that in bulk?
I mean, with
Very few
steam
Fine
people do.
engines,
Very few people
You can-
do.
That's my first question. Second question: how many personnel are there today, and how many training courses are there today to operate steam-powered boilers?
There are very few. This is my point.
also crew complement generally, because we know the U.S. likes high crew count.
These things.
They're
need-
very crew-heavy ships, and not a lot of navies
Yeah.
can afford that number of crew.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. You'd have to either. Well, you've got two options, both of them bad. Either you build a dedicated tanker or pair of tankers to carry bunker oil for these ships, which is a bad idea, and then because you've got to train the crew to operate the engines, or you gut the entire power plant and replace it with modern gas turbines, which is going to be expensive. Then you've got the problem of 4,000 fucking people outside of the air wing required to operate the damn thing.
I have a way of getting around this.
Oh no, you don't. This idea is dying on the vine. I will never admit defeat.
No, I have a way around it. And Fleet, you will sit down and you will listen. Love you, baby. Anyway,
Shush. Anyway,
no, the way that this could work is you basically build the hull of a new Forrestal because it'd be a lot fucking cheaper and easier,
mm-hmm.
and then just design a new modern power plant to go into it,
Well, yeah,
and then put everything else on top of it. But you make her so she's a lean manned ship, which is
that's-
doable.
That's fine. Like I've said, my problem isn't with a ship the size of the
You're building a
Forrestal.
new ship at that
Yeah,
point.
but my problem isn't the idea of a Forrestal. Like, we're all agreed, a ship the size of the Forrestal in the modern era is a fucking fantastic carrier to have. The problem that I have is trying to use the actual fucking Forrestal.
Well, there's
Yeah.
also one
I mean,
way we can also
at
get
that
around
point,
it.
my next
Hey,
question,
Dom.
my counter argument, and this is admittedly not as strong counter argument, is, I mean, at that point, economies of scale, again, just build a third QE, you'd probably get it done cheaper, but if you
There is
have to
no
use a
economy of
Forrestal hull-
scale with the QEs. That's part of the fucking issue with them. They were built that slowly, and only two of them. You never got the effects of scaling for two ships.
Yeah, because they were
But
ordered to build
you
them
don't have to do
slowly.
any design work. Has the tooling been stored, or was it actually gotten rid of?
Gotten rid of.
You think too highly of the British industrial complex and BAE systems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all.
The government told BAE they weren't going to buy any more of them, so BAE got rid of them. Got rid of the
And the
tooling
government
for
also
it.
told them to slow walk it as well, but she got rid of all the benefits of building two ships. Which
Yep.
is, yeah.
But
fucking-
again, you don't have to do any new design work.
You
know,
do.
you would.
You
Like,
did.
if you were going to build a new QE now, you would have to basically start from scratch, because quite frankly, so many lessons have been learned from those two ships.
Okay,
I
less
think-
design work than something based on a Forrestal hull being built today. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
Not really.
I don't. Okay.
How many are you building?
There would be a lot more that would go into a QEC because you need to completely redesign the entire power plant just for the power demand of modern day weapon systems and also making them actually combat effective with modern day jets. So you'd have to scrap completely of the F-35Bs because they're a piece of shit anyway, and you'd actually want to have a decent aircraft like a Charlie or, I don't know, a Rafale just to get something off the deck that actually can land with its aircraft, with its a full load of, where it can take off with a full weapons load and a full fuel load and then land with said weapons and fuel load. That's just as a start. Then you're talking about laser weapon systems, which are obviously coming into effect because, for God's sake, you're not keeping a phalanx on board. That is a stupid idea if you're going up against a drone that's going to come into your ship. You might as well use a Dragonfire, because that's going to be the only decent laser at the moment that's coming out. Also, the fact that there is also other systems you need that power for, and unfortunately, I know for a fact that the QEC will not operate effectively on the amount of power she has, because the thing TLFs like a motherfucker. The thing will not do 35, well, will do 32 knots, and the lights will start flickering. She does 35, she cats out. Okay? There is not enough power on that ship. Sorry, rant over.
I would like to point out both Kuis are essentially separate ships.
Yeah.
Prince of Wales is bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Kiwi is built from the outside in, and Prince of Wales was built from the inside out.
Yes, she was.
Yeah. And I've also seen it argued that the Prince of Wales is somehow a less capable ship, given her history
They both
and
have
reliability.
They're both individual ships that have had teething troubles. Why are people surprised by this? And they're the first large warships Britain has built for 4 to 5 decades.
Can we move on?
Yes. 961 asks, so if the US had a continuous construction of Arleigh Burke class and OHP class, how likely is it any new frigate would be to replace the 70s, 80s built OHP? Oh yeah, God, you would have a new frigate. Yeah, absolutely. There's only so, unlike the Burke, the Perry has a lot less space to be pushed. They would be tapped out by 2004-5. You have very little space to push them beyond that in terms of more capability on the hull. But what it might mean is that, given that they have the Perry, an up-to-date version of the Perry, the USN has experience building frigates in the mid-2000s. You probably don't see a massive delay for their next generation frigate. They just go to US frigate and go, hey, so building the OHPs, this is great. We want, like, a mini Burke. Can you do that? Or, like something that's more of a traditional European-style large frigate that they're building over there. Can you do that? And the frigate yards will probably go, yes, since we have had lots of orders, therefore have lots of space, lots of experience, and lots of cash, yes, we can give you those designs relatively quickly. And you'd probably have the next generation US frigates keel being laid as early as perhaps 2010. That's the difference here. That is the difference. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's on the Great War on Terror or not. The USN, the reason it took so long for the USN to get its new frigate was because they stopped building the Perrys in the 90s. And the idea of going back to building frigates during the Great War on Terror, given the amount of investment it would take, was so eye-watering, they decided to do the flip-flopping banana armor excuse that led to the whole Constitution kerfuckle. If you've got frigate construction only ceasing in 2004-5, or heck, still ongoing in 2004-5, even if it's at a relatively lower rate, that means you've got the yards have money, the yards have experience, the yards have the workforce. There will be multiple bids from multiple yards for the next generation USN frigate.
Okay, Fleet. You're missing a very large Congress-shaped shadow over a OHP successor program, because, I mean, look at the Zumwalt. We've been building Burks. We continue to build Burks, and yet the Zumwalt program was turned into a Christmas tree and therefore a cluster.
That's true, but let's not forget
I don't see an OHP successor necessarily avoiding that, especially in the push after the fall of the wall to make individually more powerful, more expensive, but less of them assets that are represented by Seawolf and Zumwalt and not the LCS program.
Seawolf is not represent. Zumwalt. That's not.
I'll eat the Seawolf, but
it's very much a late Cold War
But also that whole thing you've said about this idea to push for more effective but less of them. While that is true, but that's not something that is reflected by Zumwalt or Seawolf or heck even Virginia. Zumwalt was just supposed to be the next generation USN destroyer to take into account the environments the USN expected to fight in.
Which
The
was the Soror
prob-
combat.
Yeah.
Yes
The
and no.
pro- the
With the Zermot, but just quickly popping in because the reason I'm not still here is because I'm actually in the middle of rebuilding our entire home network. But I heard something that was interesting. Someone said the word that the OHPs carried on into the 90s.
They didn't.
It's a hypothetical question.
No. The last one was laid down in like the early 90s, weren't they?
No, the last one was commissioned in 1989.
There. Okay. Yes. So we nearly got to the 90s.
That meant that in the nicest way, they hadn't started building for quite a while. They actually were. There was actually a program going to look into their next generation, but then the Cold War happened, and that program was cut.
Yeah.
When the Cold War ended.
So yeah.
That was one of the first things Congress mandated to be cut.
Yeah. So
Because
basically,
ASW warfare was no longer necessary in the new paradigm.
yeah. So basically, like I was saying, if you've got the OHP construction continuing even at a low rate, the idea of replacing that frigate with a new frigate becomes a lot more palatable because it's suddenly become a lot cheaper because the yards have money, the yards have people, the yards have space.
No, what you probably have is if Perry's had continued running along with Burke's, is that you probably now be dealing with Perry's like Burke's in that the hulls would be they'd be still building Perry's and Burke's ad infinitum.
I mean, the Perry's not. I mean, the Australians showed what you could do with a Perry if you were prepared to. So I mean,
Yes, but this is the trouble for USN. The trouble for USN is once they've got a very good building structure line going, it's very difficult for them to get out of it at the moment. So if you had the Perrys carrying on, literally the USN would now be going, well, we've got Perrys and Burke still forever.
Yeah.
So Dr. Clark actually brings up something that I wanted to actually mention, but while you're on a tangent, was the political situation of the time would actually have to dictate of what would the US Navy do. Because, like Dr. Clark has also said, the Cold War has ended. Is there really much a point? Because, like the British, we started to kind of see the Russians, which was the primary threat of the Cold War, as kind of friends at the time. Because if you notice, we started allowing some of their ships to actually come into the ports of the UK, like Plymouth or Portsmouth, and we started doing, visits to the ships. We started helping them. They started engaging in exercises. Did they do the same things with the US Navy?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, in that point, then, does the US Navy still see the Russians at this time as a threat?
I think that's the problem, and I've covered this before. When you're doing your global analysis, you have to understand risks and threats. And I think the trouble is, during the Cold War, everything was so focused on the threat, they started forgetting about risks. Risks are permanent. Risks are, I'm a global trading nation, I need to secure these maritime trade routes. Risks are, I am geographically an island, ergo I need to, the sea is my defensive depth, or geographically I am a continent, the sea is my strategic depth, and all these things. So I need to secure these things. But the trouble is, during the Cold War, everyone was focused on the threat of the Soviet Union, the threat of the Warsaw Alliance, Warsaw Pact scenario, and after the Cold War was over, no one sat down and went, okay, now we have to remember our risks as well as our threats. And that's the trouble. Then we stepped into eventually the war on terror, that was the threat, and so everything was oriented around. And that's why we've seen the weird stuff we've got in defense. We've lost a lot of the capabilities, which would have been sensible to maintain, at least in a small core form, because we were so focused on threats, we forgot risks. And that's what we're seeing the problem with now. We became a threat analysis center rather than a risk and threat analysis center.
Yeah.
And this is why whenever I talk about these things on my channel, and I do these big videos where I talk about, procuring ships, procuring fleets, I always mention you have to analyze both your risks and your threats. Because risks are permanent. Threats can go up and down. But risks are a constant. This is constantly a risk to me. It might be a very low threat of it actually happening, but it's a very high risk if it does. So therefore I need to cover it.
Okay, Channel Lord, that is a lovely Star Wars question, but unfortunately we do not have a dragon. That is one I would have to have Dragon here for.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
He's in the audience.
He's down
Yes.
below at the moment.
Oh.
He's in the audience.
Oh.
Wherever there's a Foxo, there's never a dragon far away.
He's eating, so you're not getting him.
Yeah, fair enough.
Table
So,
it for now.
yeah, I'll file that one under ask it again next week. Like seriously, no, ask that question again next week when we've got Dragon. Because we
I'm
absolutely
going to go back to
should
my
get round to
network
that.
programming, but there was a fun
Good luck.
there was a fun thing going on, and I just thought, yeah, I've got to go back to repatching a whole network. Because apparently BT are coming tomorrow, and they want everything to be network pure. I have no idea what they mean by this, but I'm presuming they mean it organized and not patched into about 4 different colors.
Yeah,
Frick.
probably.
Look, it's an evolved network. It's evolved over the last 18 months, 2 years here, so it's a bit of a mess. I'm making sure it's neat before
No,
they get it.
I get that bit. What I don't get is why they need it. Anyway, whatever.
I don't either, but it's British Telecom. They're just annoying. Take care, everyone.
Very well. Good luck, Alex. Typical
Adios.
asks, opinions on USN destroyer leaders built in the interwar period. Do you think in World War II that the refits they will be extremely outdated for World War II combat? Why do they rarely see frontline combats like in Guadalcanal campaign and the 1944-45 naval engagement in the Pacific? Well, first things first, in World War II that the refits they would be extremely... Yes, that's kind of the question answers itself there. Yes, without their refits they would be outdated. As for why they rarely saw frontline combat, as far as I'm aware...
They're the DDEs.
No.
If they're seeing frontline.
No,
no.
destroyer leaders, Foxo.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
So the USN's destroyer leader program produced some fairly powerful, but it's important to bear in mind, very surface focused destroyers. But then again, at the time, that wasn't the problem. Basically you've only really got 2 classes here, the Porter and the Summers. Both ships carried, I believe. Yeah, so
It was the original twin 5-inch gun.
yeah. So both of them carried 5-inch 38s, but they were single-use 5-inch 38 twins, not dual-use. And these ships were very much surface warfare-focused assets designed to lead destroyers into action against enemy destroyers and, win that fight. Now, it's important to bear in mind that they did serve during the Second World War. They were at Coral Sea and Midway. They were active in the Atlantic. They were active in the Guadalcanal and Marianas campaign. However, by 1944, it's worth pointing out a lot of these ships were older. The Fletcher Swarm was now in place. And to be fair, it's important to remember, there were only 8 plus 5. There were only 13 destroyer leaders the USN ever built pre-war. That's not a lot of ships, so it's perhaps understandable they do get lost among the horde of Fletchers and Clemsons and the other classes of US pre-war destroyer when you do look at action reports around the Guadalcanal campaign and other parts of the war. 15 ships lost amongst hundreds. No, they were, gunnery officer. The Summers class were. Phelps was at Coral Sea and Midway. She was actually the ship that scuttled Lexington at Coral Sea. Balk were rescued survivors of Yorktown at Midway. These ships were with the carriers. Not all of them were, but some of them were.
They're fundamentally, what, you said 13 destroyers?
Yes.
In a war when the Americans alone are bringing literally hundreds.
Like I said, they had good war service, but they just got lost in the quagmire that was the Second World War USN destroyer actions.
It's simple. There's 13 of them. They lead destroyer squadrons.
Yeah.
There's usually 1 or 2 in a battle. And, not... That doesn't exactly lead to a lot of war records because you're, like Fleet said, being swarmed out by many other ships that might have done things more than they did.
And also, if they're leading things like the Fletchers in, or they're working with
No,
ships
they're
like,
not leading Fletchers in.
Or if they're working with ships like that, those ships have significantly better fire control than they do, even refitted. So they're probably going to get more kills. So, Knight, this question about the Kids, the Spruances, the OHPs, the Noxes, the Brooks, the Garcias, and the Bronsteins, I am going to file that as the first YouTube question we're skipping, simply down to the fact that it's just saying, what if US Navy bigger? And in the Cold War. And I'm going to file that one away under not really feeling like one of those questions right now. Where...
Because, you see, Fleet is the connoisseur. He only likes questions like this one, that what if Strike Cruiser 1970 was built?
Shush. Look, I'm also trying to give everyone fair. Knight's had 2 questions, so I feel I'm allowed to skip one that I'm not quite feeling like answering.
Or wait, Foxer, you forgot one important question. Please list all the ways Hosh is the most beautiful and combat-effective warship to ever grace the 7 seas.
Ron, have we ever told you that
silence.
that joke's getting as old?
Yeah.
It's getting as old as you.
Yeah. Sadu Tuni, I think that's how you pronounce that name? On YouTube asks, what's the most cursed thing you've done in your Ultimate Armor Dots? I don't really do cursed ships, but if you really want to go for cursed ships, and also I haven't played in literal years, basically since the game fell off, in the latter part of its development, like they really screwed the pooch in the later part of UAD's development. But one of the most cursed things that I ever did actually is currently on YouTube still, as part of the Spanish playthrough in the Succession series I did with Rex's Hangar and Brother Monroe years ago now. I was creating Spain's first battleship, and I only had Mark 1 guns, so I thought, well, I want a decent rate of fire, I'll use 9-inch. But because the Mark 1 9-inch guns are so terrible, you do need the average 4 salvo to actually hit anything. So I decided, well, I have the room, so I beamed the ships up and carried 4 twin turrets, but arranged in pairs at either end on the deck. So that way I could fire 4 guns in any direction. Now, it's worth pointing out that these ships actually, ironically enough, never ended up seeing service with the Spanish Navy, since immediately after I finished working up the design, I then got Mark II 9-inch guns, so it made the point of having 2 twins at either end irrelevant, since the Mark IIs fired faster and were more accurate, so you could get away with just having the standard twin forward and twin aft. However, the ships, for some reason, the idea of a capital ship with 8 guns appealed a lot to France, to Spain's allies. The Egyptians bought like 4 of the bloody things, and used them against the Austrians. Yeah, that's probably the most cursed thing I've ever built. But to be fair, apart from the guns, it was a fairly standard pre-Dreadnought battleship.
Fleet.
Yes.
This is not specifically Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. In fact, it's not even ship related. But do you remember what you had to build to get over the French Alps and Railway Empire?
No.
That was cursed.
No, I do not. We need to get back into Railway Empire at some point. Railway Empire 2 as well.
We should.
You and I, we need to do. I mean, I know the multiplayer is, the same. It's all the same company, which does really annoy me. There's no competitive multiplayer, but we'll get back into that. Anyway, I know a lot of people here play Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Does anyone else have any cursed stories they wish to tell?
I don't have stories, but I have ships.
Oh no!
Do I have a ship?
Okay. So this is related to. There's Ultimate Admirals for the RP that GARM comes from, as a specialized version of GARM called Loki. I wanted to see how many deck torpedo launchers you could put in a battle cruiser. So I took Battle Cruiser 3 hull, put 8 12-inch guns on it, and GARM secondary battery, and the rest was torpedoes. This battleship had a 36 knot torpedo broadside, 21-inch.
Damn, that's something.
Oh, I had used the pre-dreadnought superstructure as well, but it was just cursed.
Jiminy Christmas.
In some of the earlier stuff, I had to do an all-forward destroyer design for guns because there was no space in the back to actually put a gun due to the way they set up the depth charge launchers on a ship that didn't have depth charges, which prevented the ship from firing aft, and you couldn't place a barbette there because of the way they had set it up. So you ended up having a Nelson-style layout on a destroyer all forwards. With three triple 5-inch.
That's definitely one of the things of all time, it has to be said.
I tried to make some monitors. Because of course I did.
Monitors.
I made a destroyer with... Go on, what was that?
I maintained my first pre-dreadnought until the 1950s.
Yeesh,
It ended up being a 28-knot turbo electric drive and re-equipped with quad 11-inch guns.
The whole form should not be able to handle that.
So what I'm hearing is you just made a Nikiran dreadnought. Or
Yes.
Nikiran pre-dreadnought.
The whole form
Yes.
should not be able to handle that.
Yeah, but it's UAD.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just posting screenshots.
I mean, I don't hate the last one. That's just like embiggened Deutschland.
Oh, Deutschland, my love. Deutschland,
And,
my love.
and also, funnily enough, given that Deutschland is diesel-driven, that arrangement of the main battery doesn't, and still having a single funnel, doesn't actually not make sense, given you could quite easily trunk diesel exhaust from beneath that aft superstructure to the midships funnel. Very easily.
So, going off that design, I actually designed a better Deutschland back in the day in Minecraft, of all things.
Oh my, what a shocking
And actually
memory.
genuinely showed Drac when I took him on the QE. But I made it in UAD, and it actually works pretty well. So what you do is, you move the superstructure and the funnel back, ditch the aft turret, and do super firing like a French battleship / battle cruiser, like Dunkirk, Richelieu, that style.
You can do that.
And it actually works very well. It's cursed as fuck, but it's sexy as hell.
Yeah, I'm always fond of the proposals that do a Königsberg with the Deutschlands. Basically, you make it like a 20,000-ton ship, and then you give it like 30 knots of speed and 9 11-inch guns, but arranged
Does that have the same issues?
with most of your firepower facing after. Yeah, your armor's probably going to be absolutely pants, but at least you'll have 9 11-inch guns to throw at things, and you could run away while firing 6 guns at people.
You know what happened when the Hipper rammed a Königsberg? Or was it a Nuremberg?
I know they did. Well, no. If it's something as big as a Deutschland, they should be fine. Given that the Deutschlands didn't have many issues when it came. Ironically enough, the Deutschlands didn't seem to have many issues when it came to seakeeping or structural stability. They seem to have sailed through their careers mostly fine. Probably because of how, ironically, probably because of how conservative they actually were. They used old, reliable guns. Their triple turrets were fairly wide for what they were. They used diesels, which were far larger and reliable than they needed to be. The Germans could have actually gone for higher powered, less reliable diesels and actually squeezed 30 knots out of those hulls if they wanted to. I think it's because the Deutschlands were as they had to work, so the Germans made them work.
Meanwhile, with my all-4 Super Deutschland.
All forward free dreadnought.
Oh god, what have we done?
You've basically Tone a Deutschland.
Oh my god, that is just
Without the planes.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. Oh god, not that again. Oh my god, I hate it. I hate it. Anyway, next question is from Discord. Let's have a look and see what is the next thing I'm gonna pick out. So, you know what? I will give that gunnery officer question because that is actually fairly interesting because it gives me a chance to actually ask if anyone does know this. Because I'm actually interested in this one. So, yeah, well done, gunnery officer. This is a good question. Gunnery officer asks, do you think the Kangaroo APC is the first ever true-tracked, large-sized APC to enter service and see combat? Do you think the US took the Kangaroo as inspiration for their own full-tracked APC development? That is actually a question that I would genuinely be interested to ask myself. Given that
I do know the answer.
Go on.
No.
Yeah. No, it's not.
LVT.
No. Nope. Got an,
Vigorous
even
Dragon?
got an even earlier one.
You can't say the supply tank.
No, but I can say the British Mark 9.
Did that enter
That's
service?
the supply tank.
It's not a supply tank.
It is classed as an APC, but did it enter service? And did it see combat?
Yeah.
As per the question.
Yes.
It's all
Yes.
combat.
Very limited, but it did see combat.
As
You
far as I
had
can,
to kill the 3 rivers then, Foxer, didn't you?
as far as I can, as far
Wait,
as far
did
as
you
I
take
can
my
see,
straw from-
as far as I can see, they were used after the war, but they never saw any use in it. The supply tanks based on the Mark 4s and 5s did, but the Mark 9s, which are the dedicated thing to replace them, as far as I'm aware, never did. But
Because the
but-
one they've got in the World War One element of Bovington claims it was used in World War One.
Yeah, but I will actually give Dragon the benefit here because given that the intention was to use the vehicle in combat and it was ready, and the only reason it wasn't used is because, you know, the offensives would have taken place after the end of hostilities. The tanks were in France ready to go, and they just didn't because I think because they were fielded, even if they didn't see combat, I think it still counts. I think
Fair
that's
enough.
still fair to say that it counts. But in terms of modern mobile APCs, in terms of what we would think of World War II era mechanized warfare, I know the Bren carrier exists, but that's a smaller vehicle compared to something like the Kangaroo. But it's also worth pointing out the Kangaroo isn't actually a dedicated APC. Well, no, it is, but you get it by ripping a turret off something else.
It's not purpose-built APC.
Yeah. Whereas the Bren is a purpose-built armored personnel carrier.
The LVT is also large, so
Yeah, I know. I mean, it is a true large tracked APC. There is the LVT, though, which is earlier, and actually is a from the ground up APC, and also, for benefits, it can swim! I don't know why that...
Now,
I don't know why I was so eager to get that out.
so question: are we counting the roofed version of the SDKFZ.251 as APCs?
They're
so argue
not...
the first large modern APCs are those.
Yes, but that's a half track.
It's still an APC.
No, it
APCs
says-
don't have to be a tank.
No, it says true tracked.
the question is
large-sized
specified tracked.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's that's the criteria here. It's got to be
It's
fully
tracked. It has a pair of tracks.
Yes, but it's not a vehicle that. Yes, but it's not a vehicle that fully relies on its tracks for mobility. Look, let's not.
Yes, it does.
Can it
No, it
work
doesn't.
with? Can it work without with its wheels?
If it loses
removed?
its... No.
Yes.
Yeah, the tracks are
'Cause it-
independently driven and steered.
Yeah, the tracks are independently driven and steered, and
But-
they're the only power. The wheels aren't powered.
Yes.
So the wheels are there for convenience more than anything.
I still feel
Because
like
the
it's-
reason it has wheels was explicitly because they recruited people with driving licenses to drive them, so
Yeah.
they had to be easy for people to. who knew how to drive a car could drive them.
I do feel like that is kind of a bit of a
It wasn't designed as a full track APC.
Ironically enough, I feel like the Japanese may actually have us here. Since I know the Japanese fielded a fully tracked APC. Yeah! Yeah, the Hoki!
I would like to point the 251 did have powered wheels.
That was on some variants.
It was based on the
Yeah, the Hoki.
the 11. It gives it 11, which had both tracks and wheels powered.
Yeah, the Hoki is a relatively large, capable of carrying 13 passengers of a full squad, entered service in 1942. Yeah. Okay, for once the Japanese are coming in clutch. Jesus, I did not expect the Japanese to roll up in here with a fully tracked APC and go, surprise, we exist.
How many did they build?
Let's have a look.
It's very
200.
honourable of them.
200. It never quite replaced the more prominent Japanese Type 1 Ho-Ha, which was their other APC, which was the half-track, which is built about 150 to 300 of.
You learn something new every day.
Yep.
Although, to be fair, the Japanese do have the best names for tanks.
The whole thing that we're taking from this is that it has to be large, which basically means, can you carry a full squad? Yes or no? The Bren cannot carry a full squad. Even if you try and cram everybody in there and have them standing on top of each other.
Well, that's why you don't take a Bren, you take a Universal.
Even a Universal can't carry a full squad.
Of the smaller squads, they could.
10 man? Bugger.
No, British APC operates off of sections, not squads.
I know. That's not a disadvantage of them, but it is, again, for this question, it's kind of a...
But it's Universal Carrier were given trailers so that they could carry an entire squad.
I found a solution.
What the flip am I looking at? Sea Dodders, what in the tomfuckery am I looking at?
Mechanized cavalry.
Chariot racing.
What the flippity flip? Oh my sweet Jesus, that is glorious and adorable. Someone slapped that in meme corner. That's going in meme corner. Well, not meme corner. Sorry, we're not in the dry dock anymore. Next question, from YouTube. Knight, I am literally going to answer this question myself very quickly and say, the changing the flyover aircraft from J19s to, from J6s to J11s doesn't really change things. Wow, the Chinese have an aircraft we already knew they had, and they're buying from the Russians. Wow, okay, they have those now. That's.
In case you can't tell, Fleet is doing what is known as a sarcasm. He's not very good at it yet, so...
No, that wasn't sarcasm.
I understand
that
if
was...
you don't understand it.
That wasn't sarcasm. That was me being genuinely serious. Like, it doesn't fundamentally change a damn thing. The Americans knew the Chinese had bought Blanca, and they knew they were reverse engineering it.
I'm going to send you to Winnipeg.
Why? On what charge?
Being annoying.
That's not a charge you can throw against me.
Yes, it is.
No,
It's alright. If you can survive Winnipeg, you can survive South London. You'll learn very quickly not to get shacked.
Typical gunnery officer. I'm going to leave that one there and move on. A typical gunnery officer asks, why didn't we see autocannons like the 20mm or bigger for coaxial or commander station mounted on MBTs nowadays? Do you think the largest coaxial-mounted gun is the M2 Browning C7 mount on the Tusk Abrams? Basically, the reason autocannons on MBTs died off is because they were genuinely seen as more trouble than they were worth. And also, kind of, as helicopters began to increase the distance at which they reached out and touched tanks. Now, having a 20mm on your tank in the commander station is useful if the helicopter's method of attack is, shit, here I go over the tree line with unguided rockets, Leroy Jenkins! However, if the helicopter's method of attack is, I'm behind a tree 5 miles away, hellfire be upon ye, suddenly having the extra weight of that 20mm doesn't really help.
Not really. You're missing the forest through the trees. Because, frankly, any target that can't be engaged by the machine gun is going to get engaged by the cannon. Any target the cannon doesn't need to engage and can be engaged by the machine gun is going to get engaged by the cannon and the machine guns. There isn't a use case for the autocannon.
No, there was. I just said what it was. It's why we saw them on things like the AMX-30 and the MBT-70.
It was an early good idea thing, but what they just didn't work out. Because I'm going to channel the chief in here a little bit. So you got to fit your ammo for your main gun, which is either 105 or 120, or possibly bigger, if we're going to it. All your ammo for your machine guns. Where are you putting the 20mm? What are you sacrificing for the 20mm? Even if you stick it on the outside, I can put the ammo somewhere. And like Foxwell says, if you have a target that's too beefy for the machine guns to deal with, use the big gun.
Yep.
That's nowadays tanks have software to take out helicopters with the 120.
Yeet.
Because frankly, a Bradley might be able to take a couple of hits from a 30mm. A 120 or a 125 going APFSDS vibe checking through the front.
So I'm pretty sure the chieftain says he prefers the 7.62 to the 50 cal when he was tank commander, because he can carry more ammo for it.
Yeah.
And anything he thought was he needed a 50 cal for, he already had a 120 to hand.
Yeah. 1971. What made the French Clemenceau class a better choice than an American Forrestal for Brazil? 2 things, and it's really simple. Significantly lower crewing costs. Well, 3 things actually. Significantly lower crewing costs, significantly lower costs to acquire an air group, and significantly lower costs when it came to maintenance. Which the Brazilians needed all 3. That's why
To be fair,
her.
Most nations do have this an amazing doctrine that the Americans don't seem to have grasped yet, is you can actually employ a lot more people, well, a lot less people on board a ship because they can do multiple jobs.
The Americans are pathologically attached to damage control.
Yeah.
And people approached to damage control. Which
What's that?
It's not a bad thing, but it does keep them in the past.
Oh, there's that, but you also got people whose entire sole job is to maintain the vending machine.
Oh, and don't forget the Subways on board as well, and the McDonald's.
Yeah.
We have fun.
There are advantages to having a lot of people for doing damage control, but that's not something that requires a lot of time to train up either.
In fairness, that there even for damage control, there comes a point where more people get you diminishing returns.
Mm-hmm.
That too.
Especially when everyone on board the ship should be a trained firefighter and leak stopper.
Yeah. But
That's why the Navy that's why the RN still excels in damage control and teaching other nations how to do it. It's because, we might not have so many people, but we have more highly trained people on board our ships compared to the American Navy. And whenever you talk to anyone in any navy, they will always say the British tend to be the better trained people. But when you say, oh, what about the Americans? They go, well, they might have bigger ships, they might have more men, but they're fucking shit at their jobs. Quote.
It's not so much Cyclic needing it, it's just that Cyclic is parroting USN doctrine. I mean, from the discussions I've had with the man, even he thinks the US is still a little bit attached to it. He thinks they need to actually, maybe not abandon it completely, he's attached to it himself, but he does think they still do keep it going a little bit beyond the practical at this point. And if even he's saying that, God knows where we are.
Have we talked to the same Cyclic?
I don't know, have we?
One that used to do ramblings with us?
Yeah, like I said, I've talked to him, and that's the discussions we've had.
The one who shit talks any country who doesn't do that?
I mean,
That's
that's
not-
that's not what he does. That's character assassination, and let's not go there, please.
I think you'll have to find a fair few people here agree to disagree.
I mean, there's only so many people you can get to bang one wedge into one hole into side of a ship.
And it's usually 2 is enough, maybe 3.
4 if you need to pin them against this flow of the water coming in.
True.
Okay, that's amusing. In fact, I'm getting messages about that comment.
Times in the Drew.
I'm just thinking about, in peacetime going with the highly automated route, and then
hold on.
having the
No
spare.
No one said US damage control sucked. That's not what people are saying. They just do it differently.
They're not efficient with manpower.
I keep returning to this idea of, doing all the highly automated stuff in peacetime and keeping all those systems around, but just bulking up your ship's company just that little bit more in an actual fighting scenario, so you do have a little bit of redundancy. Because, like, when it comes to damage control, when I went for my STCW, that was a 1-week course.
You could easily bulk up extra damage control parties during wartime from civilians relatively easily.
It's not hard. Again, I did it in a 1-week course. Granted, that's commercial standard, not military, but still.
And
I was learning a bunch of other stuff at the same time.
I mean, bump that up.
You do an SDCW for damage control? Fuck, I need to go to America.
I did the general STCW course that all the people aboard the ship I was on were required. It's a requirement for the United States MMC, Merchant Mariner credential.
Oh yeah, Torrance is also a crew, or was also a cruise ship, Johnny. James you're an officer on cruise ships now, aren't you, James?
C.
C is I am. Yes.
Who for?
Anyone at the moment.
You're flying out to the land of Oz, aren't you, to pick up a ship in a
Disco
couple of
Princess.
weeks?
Discovery Princess, join 28th of March.
And then he's going to end up in Alaska eventually.
I'm actually still doing cruise ships. I'm in pre-employment for a different company now. I was with NCL.
God help me if you two get on the same ship. I will never hear the end of it.
Let's do it.
I don't get much choice in where I'm deployed, unfortunately.
And then, of course, God help me if the ship that I happen to be giving talks on, whenever that happens, is the one is eventually, given how long this might take, 2 or 3 years, is commanded by James with with C-Donners as a lighting technician. God help me, because I know that James will go.
I'm
just
turrets,
James,
not C-Donners.
Sorry.
You keep doing this. You did this in York.
Look, his name used to start with the C. He used to be Conron, and
When was
C-Donner's
the last
name
time it
still
started with a C?
Look,
I've used that name in years.
You still used it for me longer than this one. I knew you longer as the other guy. Anyway, so look, all I know is James being ex-Royal Navy. If he ever has command of a cruise ship and he knows somebody and I'm aboard, and he knows that Turrets has lighting control, and I'm giving a speech, or giving a talk, whatever, the shenanigans will no doubt occur. I'm sure of it.
I don't know what you're on about.
You know exactly what I'm bloody on about.
You have no idea how much a tech team can mess with you without making it obvious to the audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, whilst we're on this subject, I picked something up today which I didn't think I was going to get.
Oh?
I'm going to post it.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh! You got the Gulf of Aden medal. Congratulations. Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Didn't think I was actually going to get it.
Yeah, he was on HMS Diamond in the Gulf of Aden.
Oh, I knew that, but I didn't realize they give out the medal. That's fucking sick.
I
You
love
got a
that.
clasp as well.
I love that medal. That's a really good medal. That's a really
You've got a
good medal.
gong.
I've got
High
one
fives
that
all
isn't
round.
chocolate. It didn't
You
come
what?
up with the rations. Like my other two medals.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my other one.
Oh, dearie me. But yeah, just to get back to things, the Clemenceau was an ideal step up for the Brazilians. She was more carrier than they'd had before, significantly more, but she was also something that, given their increased economic strength, they could now afford to operate. Or the reason why they didn't replace her when time came up to replace her was basically down to the fact that times had moved on significantly. The cost to acquire carrier aircraft had increased. The cost to acquire a new Catobar carrier of any type had increased dramatically. Your options were either buy American, far too expensive, wait for the British or the French to do something and buy into that. The Brazilians didn't want to wait. Or go to China, and Brazil does not want to go to China.
Yeah, but
So-
China wasn't also building a carrier at that point either.
Yeah. So the Brazilians chose to let the capability lapse basically because they had no replacement for it. Which, to be fair, given the fact that everyone else's carrier capability in the South Atlantic had also lapsed, wasn't really a problem. Especially since the Brazilians are now the only South American Navy standing with large-scale rotary wing aviation, provided by ex-HMS Ocean, and now by ex-HMS Albion as well.
No, HMS Bulwark.
Sorry, Bulwark.
Albion's not going anywhere at the moment.
Oh, she's sat there.
Probably will end up in a scrapyard at this rate.
Yeah. Poor
Along with the
Albion.
Argus. Whoop, whoop.
Well,
Right, so what you're telling me is that HMS Albion is a really good metaphor for Albion.
very funny. Look, Britain's
Not going anywhere quickly.
Look, Britain's not in
And
that.
probably, probably going to end up in a scrapyard.
Look, Britain's not in as bad a way as everyone likes to make out.
We just hold on to relics of the past.
Yes.
Yeah, like Fleet.
Just. I'm older than you. You son of a dragon! Raided the fox.
You
No,
you
no, this
dress
is
in
glorious.
tweed
Keep going.
and you try and you put forth ideas like a vicar's salesman. The 1930s called.
Got a great deal.
1930s. You're 50
Yeah.
years too late for where my mental state is.
Your mental state is that you should be in the asylum, but they've been shut down.
The correct response is the 1880s called. They want their Barbet ironclads back.
No, people in the 1880s had style.
I was going to
Did
say
they?
they had standards.
Yes.
They have standards. They don't have style. Because have you seen those flares?
Yes,
You
but
are
they're
wearing.
better than like Japan in tweed.
I wasn't in Japan in tweed.
Hey,
and the fact,
Runon, can you
and
make
the
a pit
fact,
stop for some
and the
popcorn?
fact, that you still believe this gives me no end of mirth.
Fleet. Whoever said I believed it, I just like shit talking.
Fine, please do. One of the things that I bet Dr. Clocky couldn't do is he couldn't convince you that was fact, and he did. So I'm very impressed with him.
You also know that tweed is very popular in the UK among the farming communities, right?
Yes, I know.
Which he's not a part of.
I'm not a part of
Because-
either, but I have a tweed jacket
Yes,
because I live in the
Fleet-
country.
But Fleet's issue is that he's from Sheffield.
Oh, here we
Oh yeah,
go.
that's a very fair point.
Oh, here we go again. Right, can I actually get control of my show, please? I have things to do.
No.
No.
Anyway, you
No.
see, Fleet's from the land known as Hell. This land is also called Sheffield.
Anyway, moving swiftly onwards.
Sorry, dear.
That's what someone from Sheffield would say.
I just... You bloody... Yeah, you're bloody honestly. Fuck, I can't even... Just...
You could always mute them.
Problem is, though,
As-
people have power to unmute her.
And also, as annoying as she is, it is very funny and it does bring in audience engagement. And also, to be fair, she doesn't really mean any of it. If she did, she wouldn't be on Ramblings. It's just fun for audience engagement, and to be fair, it's become part of the Ramblings persona that Fleet is put down and loses more often than he wins.
That's not even a persona, that's just true.
No, that is
I feel
part
like
of the
we need a
Ramblings.
bullwhip at this point. It's like, you know, when you have the shit taken out of you, just a whoosh.
As funny as that would be, no.
Fleet, in the nicest way, you wouldn't lose so often if you pick some better ground to die on.
I pick the ground I pick.
Sometimes you pick some really stupid hills to die on, my guy.
Well, yeah, it's called having an opinion and sticking by it rather than just flip-flapping to whatever's popular.
I could always bring up the, hey, since I'm the show host, you should always agree with me, especially in these circumstances.
That's not what I said. I've never said that.
Yeah. Foxo? Did you or did you not say that? Well, whenever this happens, please just agree with me, even if I'm wrong.
I never said that.
Yes, you did.
You know, your jokes are getting worse and worse, Dragon, honestly.
It's not a joke, but okay. If that's what you want to pass it off as.
I mean, it is. I mean, why on earth would I ever say that? I'm biased, but I'm not that level of bias. For God's sake.
Anyway.
No comment, no comment, no comment. I like being on Ramblings.
Moving on.
These two
Probably a
jokers.
good
Yeah.
idea.
You're going to unpause Foxo, or?
I'm reorganizing.
Do we have a next? Did we finish this question? Do we have a next question?
Yeah. I'm just picking my next question.
You want to use the dragon question that you meant to put for next week, considering he's here?
I can do actually, yeah, since I'm not running in order necessarily today.
Yeah. I mean,
Not
it's all my
bad.
use for tonight.
Yeah, we'll just use all of that. The whole thing about the QEs anyway. Chandler Chandelas. Attention, Commodore of the House of Tag, owners and administrators of Tag Co. have tasked you with investigating an anomaly in Druckenwell. Your task force consists of a Tag class battlecruiser, 3 modular task force cruisers fitted for logistics, 6 Victory 2 class Star Destroyers, and 12 Carrack class and Strike cruisers, class cruisers each. The Baron would like to have the situation negotiated in favour of the Barony/Company, otherwise destroy whatever you find. What is the best and worst things to encounter? The year is 6 ABY. I mean, I have a tag. There's very little that the Rebellion or anyone else can put in to stop me. But I'll let Dragon go first since he is very much familiar with Legends than I am.
Fleet? The rebels just need to send a freighter with a load of explosives on board to take out a tag. Tags are not very good.
I mean, they're Allegiance equivalents.
No.
What?
No, they're notably inferior.
Imperator equivalents, despite being bigger?
They're an ISD equivalent, maybe a bit bigger, yeah, but...
I mean, they are Allegiance size to be ISD equivalent, which is a bit... Then again, they are older than the ISD, to be fair.
We're talking the Allegiance class battlecruiser is in the ones from the 3 movies we don't talk about. Sequels.
No,
the other one.
No, the Legends Allegiance, and then the tag. If you look at the Allegiance and the tag, they're very similar in size, but one is significantly weaker than the other. Hint: it's not the Imperial ship.
Thank the maker. See what I did there?
Oh, yes. So what's the worst thing that task force can run into, Dragon, and what's the best thing it can run into?
Particularly suicidal A-Wing pilot.
Wouldn't do a thing. I really hate that meme.
Yeah, that's literally just got... That was literally luck stacked on luck stacked on luck.
It's not even luck stacked on luck. It's
Like-
pure bot.
It's basically like Hood firing a shell at Hood and making Hood blow up.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
Yeah.
Not even that. The thing is with Druckenwell is an Imperial Fortress world.
Oh dear.
So there's not much that would really be I guess if they use Alvonga there, sure. That would be a concern. Saying what's the most worrying thing could literally be anything up to Cthulhu entities existing there. The best thing would be it's nothing. Problem is there's not I'll be brutally honest, there's not really enough there to because the fact that it just says an anomaly. That means literally nothing.
It's like asking, what's the worst hit to Arcadia? It's like a lot of things in Star Wars. A lot of things.
So yeah, there's just not enough stuff there that I could actually mention apart from like, okay, worst thing, literal dimensional eating horrors.
What?
Abeloth.
Oh, her. I'd forgotten about her.
She's just one of them. There's literally Cthulhu-like entities that are not Aboleth. Yeah, like there's so many awful things. There could be what's it called, the aliens from the not space. Because there's just so many things. It's like, yeah.
Sudden black hole turning up for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's
This is one of those things. Oh, dearie me. Right, okay. So ugh, I hate that concept art of her. I'm not even sure it's accurate. But still. Ugh. The one that's
No, that's accurate.
Yeesh. Good lord.
that's entirely too many teeth.
She let herself go. Just a bit.
No, she didn't. She didn't have a choice in the matter.
Is that the first thing that everyone thinks is she let herself go? Did anyone else not look at the more obvious things in that image?
I said she's got entirely too much teeth.
Or
I was
just
thinking more about
literal
the tentacles.
tentacle hands.
Yes. That
Yeah,
as well.
definitely that.
Yeah. Someone. Yeah. Right. So, let's see. A little YouTube question. What time is it? It's coming up on 9 o'clock, and I do need my sleep because I have to catch a bus in the morning instead of driving my car because of Halfords being bastards. Anyway, Douglas Yachty 6109 asks, if for whatever reason all of Germany had been occupied by the West at the end of World War II, would they allow it to be reunified earlier, or would they keep it apart even after the end of the Cold War? Germany, if Germany is under Allied occupation entirely,
it gets split.
Yeah, if for some reason the Yalta Conference doesn't grant one of the three major Allied nations a occupation zone in Germany, which the Soviets are never going to accept, because it didn't matter how far both... This is the thing everyone missed. It doesn't matter who occupies what part, who gets to Berlin first, or who occupies all of Germany. The Allies could have been in Poland, and it wouldn't have mattered.
It would have. Because
if the
the
Allies
borders
is in
of West
Poland-
Germany aren't the borders that were agreed at the Yalta Conference. Sort of like how the Poles, through the Yalta Conferences, Poland will remain independent out the fucking window. And the Allies would have done the same thing to the Soviets.
What you might see is West and East Poland, funnily enough.
No, but as for the question itself, though, well, you probably see countries like Germany split into stuff like Bavaria.
I'm not sure.
That was part of the plan that the Allies had pre-Yalta Conference.
Well,
and France or Britain are not going to accept a united Germany. Again,
last time we had united Germany, look what happened.
This happened.
So, Mustachio Man 1 came along.
I mean, you.
Without the boogeyman of the Soviet Union on the doorstep.
Well, no, he is. They're on the doorstep. They're just in Poland.
Yeah, but they're not on the immediate German doorstep. Germany's not the front line at the minute.
Fair enough.
So there's less there to keep the Allies from splitting up what would have been then West Germany, but it's now just Germany. So they might as well just split up to stop them from being Germans again.
You might actually. No, I was going to say you might have a West Germany and an Eastern armed forces area where we're facing off against the Russians. But I'm also thinking
split them into 3 different countries, each under one of the Allies' control, and have stand up their own militaries if you really need it.
Yeah,
which is why I'd probably see stuff like the Brits of Germany that still have their own identity at this point, so Bavaria and southern Germany around Luxembourg. You'd probably see those split off from Germany.
So there probably would be a Germany, but
because there is still a Bavarian identity.
Heck,
that can be fostered.
You could bring back the Bavarian monarchy. It did still exist, and it had actually violently opposed. Well, not violently, but it had rigorously opposed German entry into the First World War. And even though it had been off on the sidelines with the fall of the monarchies after the World War I, had been vigorously campaigning for Bavarian independence. / holy shit, what is the Weimar Republic? It's terrible. Holy shit, what is these Nazis? Holy fucking Jesus Christ!
We do not want to be part of them, guys. We do not want to be part of them.
Apart from the fact where Munich and Bavaria were kind of the home of the Nazis.
No, Munich and Bavaria were, but the Bavarian monarchy was not keen on this whole thing. I mean, they were less keen on it than. Look, I'm not gonna lie. They were German. They were German imperial houses. They were anti-Semitic as fuck. However, because they weren't in Germany at the time, and weren't out and out Nazis, they were able to pull what the Habsburgs did. So basically, spinning that we weren't involved, and Austria. Like, you could probably spin it. Well, they can't spin Bavaria as an occupied state like the way the Habsburgs were able to successfully spin Austria as an occupied state. But there is enough leeway there that you can get a Bavarian kingdom back.
And then you'll see stuff like Schleswig-Holstein split off.
If you're doing this, you may as well.
Depending on the status of Poland and just how far west the Soviets split off, you would still probably see the Germans explode from Silesia and Prussia.
Yeah, because then that gives the Western aligned Polish government a Poland to match up against the Eastern aligned Polish government and the Eastern Poland. Which means that which means the West and East Poland exists.
I wasn't at a place where I could get popcorn, but I did get a cookie, so I'll share that a little bit late, but I will share that. Also, I would like a small itty-bitty round of applause. I walked into a hobby shop and bought pretty much exactly what I went in there to buy and nothing else.
I am not
What?
going to. I am not going to.
This is madness.
I am not going
How?
to give you applause
Share
for
your
doing.
secrets.
I'm not going to give you applause for doing the bare minimum and spending money that I wish I had.
No.
And
I
then
did.
You don't get it. This is
I
a
also
hobby store.
I also
Can we not
wanted to
get
point out.
sidetracked?
I also wanted to point out that I looked at the Gundam and I looked at the Lego.
Fuck's sake.
Sidetrack over. I just felt that this community would enjoy that little tangent.
Well done.
Well done, you just uprooted the entire fucking question.
Fucking hell, Foxo.
Who's pissed on your conflicts?
Yeah, no, Foxer, that one was a bit much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even I don't stoop down to that flipping level.
I mean, I appreciate that Ruinon did kind of interrupt, but yeah, I will softly.
Yeah, and I don't like being spoken over, but oh well.
I thought you were done. I can't see your lips. I can't see your facial posture.
Sure. Oh.
Moving swiftly on, back to the question.
I mean, if we're doing, just to bring it back, because I think I can see where Fox was going, and to give her an in again. If we're doing this, could we see some of the plans like the expanded Netherlands and Belgium that were proposed? And then
Probably not.
you mentioned Schleswig-Holstein, which I think is likely. But at that point, is there any point even reforming a Germany at all? Might it not just all get Okay, I'm all ears.
Especially in significant regions in northern Germany, they were under Prussian control for long enough. The Prussian government was able to basically eradicate the local identity. Thank you, Bismarck. As such, the only identity that existed there at that point was German. You would only probably be able to split off parts that still had the vestiges of their own identity, like Bavaria.
Yeah. At that point, given would the Habsburgs actually be successful in arguing that Austria was an occupied state, and if they weren't, would it get folded into Bavaria?
Folded into Bavaria.
You can see where I'm coming from, right? Like if Bavaria is being formed as this independent state, like,
I suppose.
I'm not saying it's like I'm actually asking you, do you think it's something that would happen? Or are the Habsburgs going to be as historically successful as going, guys, we were occupied, we should be back to being an independent Austria again? Thank you.
Can't say for certain, but probably. Because as you've already said, so much of that was based off the Austrians managed to maintain their victim narrative through it.
Yeah.
And, well, yeah. Anyway, do we want to go to the next question?
Yes, this will probably be the last question, because I do have to sleep, because work. I mean, yay, money! But also, boo. I love being employed. To be fair, it's not a bad job. But it's just I have to work 2 weeks before I get any money, because working a week in arrears is fun. Yay. And I have to go to work on the bus tomorrow, rather than in my nice car, because my car's MOT ran out, and it should have been done on Saturday, but Halfords didn't do it because they had a mechanical failure, which is massively inconvenient. And I hate them. Typical gunnery officer asks, why didn't most countries develop and deploy recoilless rifles in large numbers during World War II's anti-tank platforms or direct fire assets, since the recoilless rifle is more portable and requires less people to operate? Do you think the AT gun is a much more proven and reliable AT platform in World War II? Recoilless rifles were aggressively widespread in World War II. Fielded by pretty much every major power in one form or another, whether as shoulder-mounted man-portable weapon systems or as weapon systems on a field carriage. I can't think of a single major power, apart from maybe the Italians, that didn't field recoilless rifles in significant numbers. Oh, and the French as well, since they... Well, no, the French did, but they were American weapons. The Germans had them, the Russians had them, the British had them, even the Japanese had them.
I mean, are we calling the PIA?
No.
The British had a sort of a field weapon rather than a man-portable weapon. The only people
I do not recall it.
The only people who I think had man-portable and field weapons were the Americans, I believe. The Russians had field weapons. The Germans had field weapons. The Japanese had man-portable weapons, but not field weapons. Only the US and the British had field weapons. When I say field weapons, I mean weapons that have a carriage or a fixed mount that are not man-portable, or, correction, cannot be fired from the shoulder. Even if they are man-portable.
British Recall's rifle did not make it into service before the war ended.
Oh, they didn't? Oh, fair enough. I was wrong.
It was in development, just not... It was like the Centurion tank, just a bit late.
Fundamentally speaking, the problem with man-portable recoilless rifle of the era is that they are extremely inadequate in the anti-tank role, and they tend to be rather small warheaded. So the only effective target it could go after is mostly lightweight vehicles and maybe light fortifications.
They also tend to be somewhat short range.
Yes. But most man-portable weapon, anti-tank weapons tend to be relatively short range at the time.
Even the towed variants or wheeled carriage variants tend to be short range as well.
Yeah. Whereas with a 17-pounder, you can reach out and touch that gentleman 2 miles away, and he will not like that.
But then you need to try and move it.
Replacement.
Yes.
I don't think Red Mist would even be... I think there would be less than that.
I mean, good. I mean, if the 70-pounder crew managed a first round hit on some poor sod 2 miles away, I'd be impressed.
So there was a fairly interesting development that I only recently found out about that the Germans made right at the end of the war. It's the 8cm PAW 600. It was designed to replace the Pak 40 because they realised Pak 40 is good, bit heavy, can't really move it around by hand, so relocating it is a bit of a iffy job. So they designed this system. It's called the high-low pressure system to fire mortar rounds out of a smoothbore barrel. These can be shape charged as well, so you got the performance of a Pak 40 out to 750 meters, but it only weighs as much as the 37mm Pak 36. And they did manage to make a few of them and put them into service right at the end. And that high-low pressure system is still in use in the 40mm grenade launchers. A little bit of a tangent.
Nothing wrong with that.
Tangents are always nice.
But yeah, basically, recoilless rifle, man-portable recoilless rifle cannot provide the performance as well as the rocket-propelled options at the time, and large-caliber recoilless rifle cannot cannot provide the same kind of performance a standard anti-tank gun can at the time.
Mm-hmm.
granted, once we start getting into post-war and the scale of the anti-tank weapon started increasing, recoilless rifle became the only logical option to maintain mobility of the unit until the advent of the anti-tank guided missile, which, to be fair, isn't too far off.
Yeah. So, that brings us to the end of our time. We would have gone on longer, but unfortunately, owing to the fact that I do in fact need sleep for my job, I can't live without it. We're gonna have to call it here. Thank you to my panel, Seadotters, Foxo, James, Guy, Moe, myself, obviously, 4 Turrets, No Defects, and Dragon, of course, who is not here, and Dr. Clark, who popped in very briefly, of course. Always welcome. Tune in tomorrow for Rule the Waves. Oh, I have to need to do the schedule tomorrow. That's fine. That's fine. Not a problem. I'll do the schedule tomorrow. That's fine. Old fleet drops under the clanger again. But what else is new? Obviously, tune if your question wasn't answered today. Don't worry. Please do store it away. And if you want it answered, please do bang it in probably on. There probably will be something run on Friday, but I'm not sure what. It might just be another ramblings. We'll see. But if not, bang it in the chat on Monday. Bear in mind, remember this: just because your question has been skipped today does not mean it will be skipped every single time. Like I said, it very much depends on my mood and what I'm willing to answer and what I'm not willing to answer. So again, just because I've skipped your question today does not mean that I will skip it every week. So please, if you have something you do want me to answer, please keep asking it. If I keep seeing it come up, I will answer it. Because it's clear it's something you desperately want answered. Take care, everyone.